Hi there, thanks for listening to my curriculum integration project. My name is McKenna Meekoff. I'm currently placed at Zeeland East High School. I'm in a self-contained MOSI room. It's a wonderful classroom. There's 10 students, 13 young ladies, and 7 young men. Obviously, there's examples of cognitive impairment, but we also have Down syndrome, otherwise health impaired, cerebral palsy. So we have a very wide variation of abilities within the classroom, which is always nice. It's in a high school, so we're focused on a functional curriculum with a focus on trying to prepare them for life skills and transitioning from school into adulthood. Why I chose this project? I chose this project because the students at my placement are going to be learning about geography coming up in the next few weeks. Currently, we're reviewing and wrapping up about learning about animal classification groups. The structure of this class time when we learn about the different animal groups is set up where students are split up into small groups, and then they are set out to read elementary level short stories and then record their information from what they learn. After a set amount of time, we regroup, and then the small groups report back to the entire class, where they proceed to fill out the rest of their information sheet with pencil and paper. I want to spice it up a little bit and vary the types of ways that they're getting their information rather than just strictly from books and typed pages. I want them to have some experience getting information from an online resource and different websites. Professionally, this is going to help me because I'm creating engaging activities no matter what the subject, because this can be modified from the animals that they're learning about now to the continents and geography that they will be learning about coming up in the year. And it can not only be modified for the different subjects, because you can use any resources for whatever subject you're learning about, but can also be modified to any of my future students, because you can change the amount of information that you want them to get out of the resource that you're providing, or change the amount of difficulty that it is to read the resource you're providing for different levels of cognitive ability. So the steps I took. One of my professional development goals in the next 10 weeks is to create a unit on geography in continents and oceans. And like I mentioned earlier, I said I wanted to integrate technology into the current learning process and environment. So I'm not necessarily changing the way the students have been learning. I'm just exposing them to more options of how to receive information. I chose standards that align with what I'm going to teach, geography, and I would also include some technology standards in that as well. I've been brainstorming and researching online resources that are appropriate to the level of my students, excuse me, as well as pertinent to learning about different continents and oceans. So I would make sure that the resource is accessible to their ability, so they would be able to learn if they engage with it. An example is one I found on Australia. It's from timeforkids.com. Basically, the website has a brief description. It's focused toward an elementary crowd, but the reading level would be appropriate for my high school students. There's a history tab, sightseeing, day in the life, weather and climate. So there's a couple different things that they can go in and explore, but it's not so big that it would be overwhelming. So it's a very good example of one of the types of online resources that I would use for this type of activity. Then I created a template on a word processor for students to be able to record their information. Currently, what they do is they record on pencil and paper on just straight up line piece of paper, and then I make different columns on the board. What I would do is I want them to have experience with not only getting information from the computer, but recording what they're learning onto their iPads or computer. So I would create a template, and the different sections that I would set up would be the history of the continent, if any, make it brief, summarize any major events, stuff like that. I would include a sightseeing column for students to write about some of the major landmarks or major either natural landscapes, man-made forms, anything that is really cool in the country. That would kind of capture their interest that they can associate with that part of the world. I might even go a step further and let them draw it on a piece of paper with their hands, to keep that fine motor skills part while also letting them engage with technology to record their information. I would make another tab for the weather or type of climate that continent is in. Of course, this can vary with big continents, but just to get a main idea of what type of climate that they live in. And lastly, I would include what type of animals live on that continent because, like I had said, my students are wrapping up with learning about different animals, so this would be a good way to connect some of the animals that they've learned about to where they actually live in the world. And for my last part, I like to get students up and moving. So after they've been sitting a while and reporting back to the whole entire class, we have a huge map where there's Velcro titles of continents and oceans, and I would have the students come up and physically put the name on the continent we're learning about, or at least point it out to the entire class. So, and then my last step would be to try it out in real life. So the description, like I said, students are split up into small groups. It can vary depending on what parapros are there that day, and also make it comparable for ability levels. And then set them out to explore one resource to fill in their information chart on. After a set amount of time, we regroup, fill out the chart on the computer, and then I would normally I just write it on the board or a line sheet of paper. But now I can pull it up on the computer and project it onto the board while the students report their information, and then they can record their information on their iPads. And this is even possible for one of my students who's physically limited. She has limited arm and leg movement, and she can't even write. But recently, the parapros have welded a iPad to her desk, and someone invented a stylus that attaches to her baseball cap, so she's able to type on her iPad, which is amazing because she has the opportunity to take notes now. So this would it would kind of fit really well in with her as well. So everyone would be included in this in my current placement. And the importance, so much of curriculum in high school is function-based, cooking, cleaning, life skills, which are absolutely 100% important and they should be the focus. But I also want to give my students as much exposure to learn about the world as possible. So this would be a cool activity or a good break for them to learn about something that's important, but it's not function-based like the rest of their day is. I also want to expand their ability to work with different resources, such as the computer, the iPads, and also recording information on word processors. What I learned, it's difficult to reach all students at their appropriate ability level, especially when you have a classroom with such a wide range. It's also extremely time-consuming to set up different resources for each topic, but I've learned that it's well worth it because once you have it set up, the students aren't going to get through something in one day. So it's really important to have quality resources set up because they will probably be spending a lot of time engaging with that and getting information from it. Also, take your time. Every student should have a chance to engage with a technology or resource and record it while other groups are reporting. This doesn't happen very quickly, especially the recording part. So it's important to take your time because not only you want everybody to get their information down, but you also want students to be able to reflect on what they're being told and learning. Also, the last part is take the time to teach students to navigate certain websites and the processors that I'll be having them use, because some may have not learned how to navigate a website or a specific website. So we might have to do one as a class before we set them off into the groups of their own and let them work on it. Sorry, this is really long. Lastly, I plan on taking the resources I accumulate throughout this project and saving them for future use. I save everything because I think it's always helpful to have someday and you might need to use it. Also, I can use this setup and lesson structure for just about any topic and any type of students that I encounter, and I'll integrate as much variability and technology every chance I get into my classroom. Thanks for watching.